Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to episode 215 of Empty Betters. I am your host, Harrison Scholes, and I'm going to toss it across the screen to my co-host, Mr. Nick Manella. What's going on, my friend?
A whole lot, my dude. We have a lot to wrap up. We had two massive game sevens this weekend. Does it get any better than that, gentlemen? I mean, this is what it's all about in this sport. I was glued to my television all weekend. Couldn't have asked for a better one.
Absolutely. We will dissect those game sevens here shortly. And if it sounds like we have a little pep in our step, it's because it's our first recording not at 11 o'clock at night for the first time in 2 weeks. Thank God. I
I
am
might
now
get
going
some
to
sleep tonight, boys. This is going to be great.
Yeah, for once. I am now going to toss it across the screen to my other co-host up in Wisco, Mr. Mac Vogel.
What's up, y'all? Yeah, we're back and better than ever. Although I will say I didn't actually mind some of those later recordings. I know it's an hour earlier for me, but I was right in my wheelhouse for some of those. Just ready to rip after the first slate of games.
There are times where it has its advantages, but on the last one, I was
Yeah.
surprised I sounded as energetic as I did because I did not feel that at all.
And it also leaves the possibility of me just fully being drunk, which I was last episode. If you couldn't
which
tell.
complete which completely happened. Yes.
Which
Yeah,
may or may definitely did or did not happen. Cannot confirm.
right.
All right, so we got a big episode. As Nick mentioned, we were all glued to our TVs over the weekend. We will recap all three elimination games that happened Friday through Sunday, and then we will do some round two picks and previews, tiny bit of gambling, and some trivia. And then we are off to go watch game one of the Panthers Bruins series. So we will recap game one later in the week in our second episode. But for now, we're recording this about a half hour before puck drop, just so you all know. Let's get into the first round wrap up. But before we do, I think Nick has a word from our sponsor, Kane Footwear.
Absolutely, I do. Just a reminder to everyone that this episode is brought to you by Kane Footwear, the ultimate choice for hockey players both on and off the ice. After a tough game, your feet deserve some TLC, and that's where Kane Footwear comes in. Their shoes are designed to provide the perfect balance of comfort and support, helping you recover faster and get you back to the game you love. So whether you're hitting the rink or hitting the outdoors, make sure you're wearing Kane Footwear. Visit the Kane Footwear link in our bio today to find your perfect pair. Kane Footwear, the official recovery shoe of Empty Betters.
Oof, that's not official. Oh my Lord. Did you write a script?
AI did. That was really nice.
There you go. Yeah, I'll be rocking those at the beach here very shortly. Vacay season coming soon. All right. Canucks. Actually, before we go into that, let's just talk a little bit of overview of round one as a whole. So every favored team won, which kind of sucks. And then in addition to that, all the favored teams were better on special teams if you combine power play and PK. All eight teams who won that statistical category also won their series. Nick, were you let down by the lack of upsets here?
I think obviously for people in our position, Mac and I, once we snapped out of delusion, realizing that the Caps were not in fact going to win in 7 games, you just want to root for chaos. So obviously you want to see some big first round upsets. I would like to have seen a little bit more of it, but I think in a way that just goes to show how strong these teams are that are the favored ones. You look at your Dallas, your Colorado, your Carolina, your Rangers, they earned absolutely every little bit of it, I would say.
Yeah, and I also think it's worth noting like a couple of these series. I think specifically Florida and Tampa, and then like Vegas and Dallas. It's kind of like whoever is the favored team on paper. To me, in both of those series, it's kind of just a number at that point because we all know Vegas is just as good a team as Dallas. It just so happens that they kind of didn't do it in the standings and that kind of thing. I mean, they're the defending cup champs. And Tampa always a tough out. So yes, technically no underdogs won, but I wouldn't say it was like all of the way better teams won, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I feel that. I think if my memory's correct, only the three series we're about to talk about are the only ones that went six or more games. So uh,
Yeah.
that's a little disappointing, but at least we got two game sevens out of it. You'll take what you can get. But we are going to kick off the first round recap with the one series that did not go to game 7 over the weekend, and that is the Canucks and the Predators. The Canucks end up winning the series in 6 games. Stay hot, Harry, for cashing out your series spread bet. I am such a little, I can't say that word. So, what's the word I'm looking for that's politically correct here, gents? I'm such a little weasel.
You could say you're a bitch.
I'm a bitch, yeah. Cash that out. Cash that out when Shelovs took over, and man, I regret that one. But yeah, the Canucks win the series in 6. They won game 6 by a score of 1-0 in a game where the entire Twitter universe was on Nashville. Felt like everybody and their mother had Nashville in that game. And what do you know? Artus Seelovs makes a 28 save shutout to become the 5th rookie goalie in the last 30 years to finish a playoff series with a shutout. He joins Akira Schmid, Matt Murray, Carey Price, and Mr. Universe himself, Ilya Brizgalov.
Incredible list. Just
your
incredible.
Your guys' thoughts on game 6 overall in the Canucks?
Well, yeah, you said everyone and their mother. That's including me and mine. We were on the Preds for sure. Absolutely wanted to see them force 7 there. I think the biggest note to take away from this game is, yeah, Pia Suter scored that goal with a minute and change to go, but Elias Pettersson, secondary assist, huge play on that goal to set that up. So everyone had been calling for this guy to do something in this series, contributes on the game-winning goal. I think you've got everything you've been asking for right there.
Yeah,
I mean, a nice game where 2-2 might be nice here,
It's
but
a start.
yeah, it's a
it's
start.
a start. That's a good way to put it.
I mean, the only thing he could have done more is what someone on a team in black and gold did. We'll get to that a little bit later, but
yeah. Mac, what are your thoughts? I know you were big on the Preds here.
Yeah, it was disappointing for sure. And but we'll talk about it a little more when we get to the preview of the Canucks series for round 2. But I think there's a lot to be said about a team that literally got outplayed in most of the games they played and found a way to win the series. There's something there. So I don't think it's just pure luck. I think there's a lot more to it than that. And like I said, we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yep, Suter scored. Oh, you go.
No, and that's the thing is, did anyone have Pia Suter as the guy who was going to score the goal that wins the series for the Vancouver Canucks? Probably not.
Nope.
Probably not. With 1 minute and 39 seconds left in regulation, we went basically a full 58 minutes and whatever amount of seconds scoreless, and it's just a 1-0 elimination game. What a weird way to end a series.
Yeah, that was for sure going to overtime too.
Until it didn't.
Right.
The Preds have now lost 6 straight playoff games on home ice. Not a stat you want to be reading there if you're a Preds fan. And then, yeah, I mean, the Canucks, they played a gritty ass series, not the type of series that you would typically think of when you think of the Canucks. A lot of high end skill, high end speed. You think power play, you think scoring. And this series was a fuck you, knock your teeth in, block the shots, backup goalie, backup goalie, like just a whole bunch of shit that they had to face. And they pulled it off against a pretty decent Nashville team. So kudos to the Nucks.
Yeah, they played a great series. I think so much of that, obviously, we've talked about Tocchet on here before, but you have to say coaching, I think, plays a lot into that. It's just, obviously it's exemplified because it's in the playoffs, but it's sort of how that team has been playing all season long. It's just their ability to, they can overwhelm you on the scoreboard if they want to, or they can suffocate you. They can win games multiple different ways. And if I was their opponent in the next round or potentially the one after this, I wouldn't want any part of them.
A little foreshadowing there, do I sense, right?
Maybe.
I've seen your bracket.
Maybe. Yeah. Or what's left of it, the 4 pieces that are still left of it.
Mac, any more thoughts on this series, or should we move on?
I'm going to save it because I want to talk more about the Canucks, but I'm going to save it for the second round preview.
Sounds good. All right. The next series, the Dallas Stars and the Vegas Golden Knights. Last night, Game 7 comes to completion. The Stars win the series in 7 games, and they win Game 7 by a score of 2-1. Shout out Radek Faksa. That guy's been there for 9 seasons, I think the announcer said. Gets the goal, the first goal of the game. into shortly into the third period, and it was an enormous momentum swing that they desperately needed. And out of all the guys who could get it, I'm happy it was him.
Second goal of the game for the Stars, but yes.
Oh,
That
I
was the
apologize.
go-ahead goal
First
coming
goal of
in.
his
Yeah.
series.
Yeah.
It was the go-ahead goal. I apologize. You're right. Wyatt Johnston. What a coming out party for this guy. He had 4
Yeah.
goals in the playoffs in round 1, led All-Stars players in scoring chances. This is a wild stat here from Sportsnet. I saw this, Mac.
Yep.
He had 31 scoring chances in the 7-game series. The next closest on the team was Sagan with 14.
That's crazy. I mean, this guy has just been so impressive. You look at guys like him and guys like Logan Stankoven and some of the other, I mean, those guys are at the younger end of the spectrum for this Stars youth. They're guys that are 24 and 25 that have been there for 3 or 4 seasons already. And I was talking with our good buddy Nick Bowens, like how did they find gems like this? And he made a really, really good point. He's like, both of those guys were COVID draft guys. And so I think that
Oh,
that's something to remember here, but it doesn't take away anything from just how instant both of their impacts in that lineup, especially Wyatt Johnston, has been. I mean, for sure, by far and away, best player in the series in the first round.
Yeah. I mean, you get 31 scoring chances, you're gonna end up with some goals, and he got 4 of them. So
he
it's
looked great.
yeah. What do you guys
He
think about Vegas flipping their goalies back and forth there? You think that was the right call? Game 7, Aiden Hill.
So I listened to 32 Thoughts before this, and Elliot Friedman had a really great point, and I think it made sense after he said it. He said he was talking to somebody about this goalie decision, and they referenced the Penguins back in 2016-17 when Fleury was playing out of his mind. He took down the Caps that year, that infamous like save. And then they went back to Murray when they played Ottawa. This is the 17 season, sorry. And he said Mike Sullivan is going to play the guy who just won him a Stanley Cup in a game 7. He's like, you earned that trust when you're the goalie that did that. And that's what he did. And he said, and I don't really, it's not a surprise to me that, Cassidy went back with Hill. And when he said that, I was like, you know what? It's, you kind of have to play your Stanley Cup winning goaltender in that situation when the stakes are high. So I understood it.
I think it makes sense. And the other thing is, I don't think it cost him. I mean, it's kind of like the Leafs thing too. It didn't really end up being the deciding
Yeah.
factor. He gave him
Right.
the chance to win the game.
I think you can say that the reasons Vegas didn't win that game were more from their team's performance. I think if you're gonna criticize the goaltending change, I wouldn't criticize it for game 7. I would criticize it for game 5. I don't think, or game 4, what was it? I was like, I don't think you need to do this in the first place. Just stick with
I
what you've
agree.
got and just ride this thing out. You guys are fine.
I would totally agree because what they started with Logan Thompson and then
Won
randomly,
the first 2 games, right?
yeah, and I think they threw Aiden Hill in there at a random juncture and then went back to Logan. And that, yeah, I think just in general it was a little bit too much flip flopping. But I agree with you, like the concept of that game 7, that decision making. I think it's sound logic, but yeah, I think overall there's some questions as to I don't know if that's the right call, but
We'll kind of lump all the injury talk for Vegas into one point. So obviously everybody knows about the LTIR little loophole that they really like to dabble with the past couple seasons. Mark Stone looked kind of hurt in the game. I don't. He got that cross check in the back. I can't remember who gave it to him, but he did not look himself last night. And then he said in his post game that he feels Vegas could have put themselves in a better spot during the regular season. So that way they wouldn't have to play arguably the best team in the league first round of the playoffs. And then this stat over from Sinbin Vegas, fellow EB alum. He was on the show last playoff run. He had a quote from Bruce Cassidy that Cassidy said they had 9 guys have surgery this season. 9 players with surgery. That's insane. Mark Stone, Petrangelo, Eichel, Theodore, Hurdle, Carrier, Whitecloud, Carlson, and Hutton. That's nuts.
That's a lot. I Yeah, obviously this isn't where this team wanted to end up. Obviously they contended for and won a Stanley Cup last year. They're going to be expecting more of the same this year. It's really, it can only be as good as last year. It can never be better in a way, which is there's nowhere to go but down here unless you win a second consecutive Stanley Cup. Obviously they don't. I don't know if LTIR is the big thing here. My thing is you made earth-shattering moves again here I'm looking at Hannafin, looking at guys like Anthony Mantha, and you're still, first round exit, nothing to show for it. So
Hurdle.
that's one, yeah, hurdle one you've got to be a little bit stung about.
That's a really good point. And I remember talking with my dad like around the trade deadline, and we were talking about how Vegas just like they don't give a fuck. They don't like they're just all in every year. They're just like, yeah, whatever, trade the picks. We don't care. We just want to win as much right now as possible. And you're right, like that's cool and all, but then when you lose in the first round, suddenly you're like, well, shit, I kind of wish we maybe had some of those draft picks now. Like I don't know. I think it'll catch up with them, and
It
yeah,
will eventually. Yeah, they're ruthless. People wondering if that's Marsha Show's last game in Vegas. Maybe Chandler Stevenson's last game in Vegas. A lot of people said might happen. So we'll
bring
see.
him back
Definitely.
to DC.
Ooh,
Marchessault was an interesting one in that series because I thought he started very well. He looked
played
exactly
well.
like his usual self. And then I would say like around like game 4, 5, just kind of like disappeared a little bit. And like games like 5, 6, and 7, I was like, this guy's gonna have 1 and 2, 2 and 1, his usual bullshit. Like he's gonna score both goals for Vegas in game 7. They win 2-0. Fully expecting that and just didn't see it.
Dallas put the clamp down. And then one last stat for the series that is extremely impressive. Pete DeBoer is now 8-0 in career game sevens. That's the longest undefeated streak for a coach in NHL history. And he now ties Daryl Sutter for most game 7 wins overall with 8.
Do you just like
Mr.
retire now, like just so that record can't ever get tarnished or broken?
Mr. Game 7.
You
Yeah.
see the clip of him talking about how he was like, "Oh, I can get a lot done in 48 hours in terms of like celebrating."
Yeah.
Because they
Yeah.
were saying like, "Are you gonna go enjoy this after the game?" They were like, "I know you don't have a lot of time. You got to get ready for the next series or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, I can get a lot done in 48 hours."
I love that. And for those wondering, Scotty Bowman and Pat Burns both had 6.
Of
So
course they did.
Sutter and DeBoer 2 more than those guys. But yeah, all in all, a great series. The one that probably everybody circled would go 7. It did go 7. It didn't disappoint. So, and the Stars win. America's team, as we would say.
Would you guys say that that's one of the, if not the toughest first round matchups we've seen two teams get in a long time?
It's got to be up there.
I'm having a hard time thinking of one
Yeah.
that's worse than that.
I mean, to me, that is a and I don't know. I know we said the East would have been the same, but I don't know what the West would have been if it was 1 through 8 playoffs. But to me, that's the type of matchup that people would use as an argument to go back to the 1 through 8. Cause it's like, look at these two
It's a conference
awesome.
final matchup.
Yeah. It's like, look at these two
Yeah.
awesome teams. Why is one of them just automatically out after round 1?
Yeah.
Which I know,
Yeah.
again, people forget Vegas was a wild card team, but
Yep.
on paper.
Kind of
Yeah, I'm not faulting the system. If anything, I'm faulting
Yeah.
Vegas for not
Yeah,
playing
right.
better over the course of the entire
And
season.
yeah, it's
But
what Mark Stone said basically. He said we should have just done a better job during the regular season to get in a better spot. We didn't. So
9 surgeries. I can't. That's just mind blowing.
that's crazy.
I think the Penguins would be in the Celebrini sweepstakes if they had 9 surgeries. We are going to move on to the next series, the last series of round 1 that I know we are all so anxious to talk about. The Boston Bruins and the Toronto Maple Leafs. And if this sounds familiar, it's because it is. Pastrnak scores in overtime, and the Boston Bruins win Game 7 against the Toronto Maple Leafs by a score of 2-1. Before I read anything, immediate thoughts.
can I just say, what a fucking pass! What a play on that goal!
Yeah.
And
That
home.
that is a 1,000 hockey IQ play.
Yeah.
Shout out Hampus Lindholm. That was sick. I said that the second he scored that. What a bank off the corner pass, the perfect amount of touch, the
What a
perfect
game he
angle.
had, man. I mean,
And
Yeah.
didn't Pasta pick the puck up in the first place? It was like a give and go. He
Yep.
gave it to him and
Yeah.
just fucking took off down
Yeah.
the like he just knew. And if you watch it in slow mo, you can see Lindholm kind of like get the puck from Pasta and just see him take off. And he immediately just like turns his head to that spot on the ice and just like zeroes in like laser beam eyes on the spot he's gonna put it, and he puts it right there.
Said I'm going north. Come and find me.
So poor Toronto fans, you might as well have put a pitchfork in them by the time puck dropped, because Joseph Woll, with the ultimate last second injury announcement of all time, it's like 20 minutes before puck drop, and Paul Bissonnette's like, "Yep, there's something going on," and then the whole internet takes it by storm, and
Dude, 30
yeah.
minutes before puck drop, I'm like, no Matthews, no Nylander, Wall's in net, Sammy's not playing. 5 minutes before puck drop, it's the complete opposite. Somehow Wall's hurt, Sammy's in the net attempting to warm up, and then both Matthews and Nylander are out there. I'm like, great, no one knows shit anymore.
You know what? I'm going to say this. If the NHL is going to keep promoting DraftKings the way that they're doing it, they need to make sure they have lineups solidified and published like 30 minutes before.
That's not a coincidence whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
Yeah. But by the way, we're not faulting DraftKings for that. We're faulting the NHL for that.
No, the NHL
yeah.
knows exactly what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard to make a bet when you don't know the lineup until 2 seconds before puck drop. But anyways, yeah, they had a little bit of a goaltending drama before puck drop. And then the Leafs, man, like, I texted you guys this and I stand by it. I was so confident, especially after watching the first two periods, that the Leafs were going to win that game. It just felt like it. I would argue they outplayed the Bruins. They played a great game. And then Nylander gets that first goal from a beautiful pass from Matthews. And I'm like, here we go. At 10 minutes left in the third, the icebreaker, the dagger. And then all of a sudden, and I'm not trying to fault the guy because he played a great game, but Ilya Samsonov lets in a short side muffin to Lindholm. And I'm like, you can't let that in.
It's one of those things too in playoff hockey where, like, especially a game 7, it's so typical to have like a scoreless game for like more than 2 periods. One team breaks it and then the other team just ties it right back up.
Yep.
Like no one can score all game, but then you're both going to score within like 2 minutes of each other.
Yeah.
That's a tough one.
I think I texted you both when this was going on and said like some nonsense is about to happen. Like you just got that feeling that once this game went to overtime, because I think we knew from the halfway point of the second period that it was going to overtime, that it was going to be something crazy like that. And like you guys both mentioned, the fact that that game was tied up less than or equal to a minute later is that's just typical Bruins Leafs game 7 lore right there. It's just crazy.
It was a phenomenal game. I don't think the ratings have all been published yet, but I tweeted from the EB account. I said this has the potential to be the most watched hockey game of all time. A Saturday night game 7 Bruins Leafs, like between Canada and US combined, you might not find a better matchup.
One of the things, I totally agree. That had to be like must watch TV for any sports fan. But I know prior to that game, we were talking about what the repercussions or the fallout from this game would be, and that it would be a monumental collapse for whoever lost this game. The Leafs obviously because of just Google it, and then the Bruins because of going, up 3-1 and blowing it in consecutive years. So just how bad do you guys think this is for Toronto in terms of botching this series? Because it's tough, I feel like, because they were out of it. They were completely out of it and clawed their way back in. But
what sucks about this one is, like, I'm not even certain. Like, there's a lot of years where the Maple Leafs lose and they're fully to blame, and you can make fun of them and say, wow, these guys are professional choke artists, like the Habs year or whatever, where they cough that one up to the fucking Montreal Canadiens. That's like, yeah, that's completely clown shit, just hilarious, utter comedy. This one, I'm not even sure. Like, I know like Leafs fans are different breed and everything, and they're gonna find a way to blame them either way. But as an objective third party, I'm not even sure like they did anything that bad. Like, to me, I think they played a pretty good series. They had some issues like with Matthews out, injuries and stuff. That's tough to overcome. They did their best to do so. I think they battled pretty hard against a good team. I mean, you go to game 7 overtime, you're 1 goal away from, like, put it this way, you're 1 goal away from moving to the second round, and you just don't get that goal. Is that a reason to like blow it up because you didn't get the 1 goal? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah,
because if you
You're
do get
close.
the goal, then you're moving on and you're not blowing it up. So
yeah,
it's like, are we really blaming this entire like team for not getting the 1 goal? Like, I know it. I know it's the concept of not moving on, but am I making any sense here?
No, you are literally saying in a different way what Elliot said on 32 Thoughts. It's like that's just the business we're in. Like it's that cutthroat. You know, you can go to overtime and it's one shot that could change the fate of Sheldon Keefe's coaching career, and it doesn't go their way. Like you're making a rational point. No one's going to argue that. It's just that's just the business. Like the
Yeah,
thing
And
with
that,
the Leafs,
yeah,
Mac, I think
the,
you nailed it. It's like they did a lot of the right things. Yeah, they were down 3-1. They had some shit injury luck, probably their two best players all year. And now you've got the goalie thing, which, you know,
yeah.
that's a lose-lose situation for that team. I thought Wall played great when they brought him in, but obviously it's not a recipe for success. And then they have to come back from down 3-1. So they already had their backs up against the wall. So I think they fought hard in that series, but like you said, it's just one of those years where you get to the playoffs, things don't go your way right off the hop, and you're done early. It just happens.
My issue with the Leafs and something that, and I do think they played a good series. I honestly think they deserve to win it. I love the way they played the last 3 games. They played shutdown hockey. It was uncharacteristic of them. But the thing that is bothering me is they are built to score and they can't fucking score. Like what was the stat we read last episode? They haven't scored more than 3 goals in a playoff game in the last 14 playoff games. Like
yeah.
they
That
gotta,
is a fair point, and
Do you
that's a
want to
fair
know
criticism.
something nuts? The
what?
Washington Capitals had more power play goals in this playoffs than the Toronto Maple Leafs did.
Do
Wow,
you want to
that
hear
is
something
crazy.
more nuts? The New York Rangers scored more power play goals in 23 power play seconds in game 1 against Carolina than the Leafs scored in 7 games. They scored 2 power play goals against Carolina in 23 power play seconds.
It's
Wow.
bad, man. I mean, I think if we're gonna really, tear down the Leafs right now, obviously Keefe doesn't come back as coach. I think that is a
No.
no-brainer move for me. That experiment is over and done with. He got you, a little bit further up the ladder. It's maybe a similar situation with Boudreaux and the Caps, but I don't think he's going to be the guy to get you to the conference finals by any mean. The goaltending situation is something you cannot go into this next season without addressing, in my opinion. You have to change something there. And
Yeah,
then I would strongly advocate for moving one of the four.
You probably let Sammy walk. I think he's a UFA. I might be wrong about that. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I guess Marner is kind of like the big question. If I had to guess, I don't think any of the big four go. I really don't.
they get fucked regardless because they all have no move clauses, right? And Marner's got that through
That's
next
right. And
year.
he's not gonna win it.
And so does Tavares. And I'm not insider guy. I'm just repeating what I'm hearing. But like, and we're not going to dive too much into the Leafs offseason plans because we'll be here till midnight. But yeah, I don't think there's a win-win scenario for them next season. We'll see how it works. But a huge win for the Bees. They're taking on the Panthers right now. Game 1 puck drop as we're recording this. An awesome round one, probably one of the most drama-filled round ones I can remember. So hats off to these two teams for the entertainment.
For sure. Did you guys have a favorite series from this first round?
I
That's a
think
good
it's
question.
probably either the Dallas one or the Leafs one. I mean, the two that
Either of the
the two
seven
that
game
went
ones.
seven. Yeah. I mean, the Leafs one probably had the most drama, which is no surprise to anyone.
I really enjoyed the Canucks one, strangely enough.
It's a good
That
one
was
too.
awesome. There were some really good games in there. That comeback game was
Mm-hmm.
arguably maybe the most entertaining game of the whole postseason.
Might be a
That
cold
or Jets Avs game one.
was
True.
wild
That was a wild one. Yep.
barn burner. But yep, that'll wrap it up for round 1 of the 2024 Stanley Cup playoffs. We are going to now do our second round preview here. But before we do, I know Nick has a word from DraftKings.
This episode of Empty Betters is brought to you by DraftKings. The chase for the Stanley Cup is on, and if you're looking to light the lamp, nothing beats the action at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NHL. From the start of the playoff beards all the way till the hoisting of the cup, DraftKings Sportsbook has you covered with same-game parlays, live betting, odds boost, and so much more. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. New customers bet $5 and get $200 bonus bets instantly. That's code THPN only on DraftKings. The crown is yours.
Alrighty, we are going to dive right into it. The Florida Panthers versus the Boston Bruins. The Panthers are coming into this series as minus 195 favorites. The Bruins are coming in at plus 160 underdogs. Panthers have rest. Bruins played game 7 2 days ago, and here they are getting thrown right into game 1 of a new series. In the season series, Boston swept the Panthers. I find that interesting, but as we all know, that means nothing. Some storylines coming into this. Obviously, you have the rematch of last year's first round series where the Boston Bruins blew a 3-1 series lead after having the best regular season of all time. And Florida won game 7 overtime at the Garden. I thought this was pretty funny. Matthew Tkachuk says he thinks everyone kind of knew the Bruins were going to be moving on in that Leafs series. And he said it with that beautiful Tkachuk smirk that we all know and love, little shit-eating grin. Uh, I think this is going to be a great goaltending matchup. We've got playoff Bob. We've seen what he's capable of doing. And then you've got the best goaltender in the NHL playoffs right now, in my opinion, is Jeremy Swayman. So should be fun.
Yeah, this is awesome. I think like you mentioned, the goaltending matchup is great. I would agree that Swayman's probably playing the best of any goaltender in the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. And then there's the storyline that I absolutely love, which is what this matchup gave us last year, which was one of just the craziest meltdowns and then game sevens we've ever seen. So hopefully we get some more of that. That would be nice. This one is going to be interesting, though. I would not be surprised if this one went the distance again.
Mac, your thoughts?
Are we doing official predictions for this or
We're throwing it all in.
okay. Yeah, I really wanted to be more confident in the Panthers for this series, but I will tell you Jeremy Swayman is the big question mark for me right now, being like, I don't know. I don't know what's gonna happen. I think I think this is going to be an awesome series. I think that goes without saying, but I'm gonna be looking for some more physicality in this one and some more rough stuff from the Panthers than what we saw in their round one series. I think that this matchup lends itself to that more, especially with the history from last year. I think a lot of these Bruins guys are kind of taking it personally. Like, we had the best season ever last year, and you guys fucked it up just to go to the cup final and lose, and that would have been us, and maybe we would have won, that kind of mentality. So yeah, I think it's going to be awesome. I if you want my pick right now,
Rip it.
Cats and 7, baby. Meow meow.
Oh, you think it goes 7?
Yep. I was actually going to say Cats and 6 until I thought harder about Jeremy Swayman, and yeah, I'll say 7.
Nick, what are you thinking? What's marinating in that brain?
Yeah, like I said, I think this one's going the distance. I'm gonna go Cats and 7 as well. It's just
Ooh.
I think Florida is the better team. But like Max said, the way that not only just Jeremy Swayman, the way that Boston's playing right now would scare any opponent. I think the Panthers can handle them. I think they're going to have some trouble in some games. I fully anticipate 2 and or 3 of these games going to overtime. Like, it just has that kind of,
Yeah.
maybe it's the Tendy matchup, but just the fact that we've got like Jake DeBrusk and Carter Verhaeghe in the same series, like there's going to be some overtime shit here for sure. So yeah, just gut feeling right out of the hip. I'm going with Cats and 7.
Oh, man. You guys are making me rethink a little bit because I'll be honest, I think maybe I'm disrespecting the Boston Bruins. I love what I'm seeing from Florida. I think they're loaded. Two guys from the Bruins who I think that everybody needs to kind of keep an eye on, because if they don't come to play, which they didn't in round 1, they're going to be out the door in 5 or less. Charlie Coyle and Pavel Zacha, two guys, two of their centers, their top 2 centers, who basically did fuck all in round 1, to be quite honest. They really need to
Yeah,
step
that's
up.
true. That's a good point.
Those guys have had tough roles to step into that team this year to essentially fill the shoes of Patrice Bergeron. So that is a thankless job, but I 100% agree. It's basically going to live or die with them.
And then the special teams, I mean, the Bruins limited the Leafs to 1 power play goal. And the Panthers have Mr. Power Play himself, Sam Reinhart. So that's going to be a huge storyline. And then one last guy I'll mention, Brandon Montour. And if you're a Bruins fan listening to this, you probably have nightmares from last postseason because he dominated that 7-game series last year. He had 5 goals and 3 assists in last year's 7-game series. I would expect a lot of minutes from him, a lot of big stretch passes that could lead to some chances. And yeah, Brandon Carlo also ruled out for game 1 for Boston. I think that's a huge injury. I'm going to go Florida in 6. I was going to say 5 actually, but you guys are talking me into
I like it.
respecting the Bees a little more. I'm going to go Florida in 6.
I like it.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I mean, just I think there's so many players on the Bruins that you almost forget about, like the fact that they have Kevin Shattenkirk who can still make plays from
I've
the
looked
blue line is I
big
think
man.
something that definitely gets overlooked. That's why I'm, as I watched that Leaf series go on, I was a little bit more under the impression of why can't this Bruins team just fuck off and go away? Because they've just been consistently good for 25 years now, but
Yeah.
whatever. They found the fountain of youth there or something.
They never die. That's just
Yeah.
one of the things. But we're going to move on to a Western Conference series. And I would say this is probably going to be the best second round series of the Stanley Cup playoffs. Maybe the best series overall of the playoffs. It's going to be hard to top
I hope so.
the Vegas one.
I'm a little scared.
So we've got the Dallas Stars versus the Colorado Avalanche. The season series, Colorado takes it 3-1. Some storylines coming into this one. If there has ever been a series that defines big boy fuck you hockey from our friend Heat Daddy, this would be the one. This is going to be the collide of the two big challengers out west, I think most would say. You can obviously throw Edmonton in there, but they're going to have to deal with Vancouver first. We'll talk about that shortly. What are your guys' thoughts coming into this one? This is going to be a barn burner.
Dude, if you're Dallas, you're sitting there going, okay,
Yeah.
who was our first round opponent? Okay, fine. Who's our second round opponent? Buddy, you got to be kidding me. Like, just, I mean, am I crazy in thinking that in a world where the Stars made the third round, it would actually probably be the easiest matchup they had faced to that
No,
point?
you're
I don't even
probably
know.
right. Yeah.
If they play Vegas, Colorado, and Edmonton, that's the hardest
Yeah.
3
Yeah.
Yeah,
rounds of all time.
yeah,
Barn no
Well, I'll put it
contest.
this way: if the Stars make it to the Cup final, they will have fucking earned it. My goodness.
yeah. I
Number
mean,
one number one seed out west gets the hardest route to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
this is gonna be crazy. I have like 8 different thoughts in my head for what direction the series can go in, and I have a feeling that it's gonna go in all 8 right from the drop of the puck. Like this is gonna be nuts. You've got an awesome storyline here. You've got the high flying Avs offense. You've got Ottinger and the Stars defense. Can they muck it up enough? Then you've got that Stars scoring by committee. Can that continue, or is Colorado going to find a way to shut those guys down in a tight checking series? Now we've got, the Landeskog stuff is starting to circulate again. Is he going to be back at some point? We just don't know. So big stars, big moments. Like you said, it's big boy fuck you hockey. I am so excited for this one.
it is basically a Stanley Cup final, some would say. I think the Avs after round 1 with how they looked against Winnipeg, a lot of people say they are the most poised team to make a run to the cup out west. And then on the other hand, there's a lot of people who think Dallas, all 23 guys deep are the deepest team in the league. And I wouldn't argue either of those points. So yeah, some things to watch for this series. Wyatt Johnston's going to need some help if they're going to beat the Avs. They're going to need some more out of guys like Sagan. I know Mac was saying that last episode. We need a little more out of Tyler, probably a little more out of Ben. They're going to need the depth to really come through.
Not criticizing the guy at all, but probably you're looking for some contribution just because he's a big game guy out of Joe Pavelski at some point, a
Yep.
giant like tip goal on the power play to tie things up
Yeah.
or to
You
get you
need
back
that.
within one early in the third period if you're down 2 or something like that.
The
Just
sooner the better. Get him activated. Get him feeling it. Because when he catches fire, he could be real dangerous.
yeah.
Got to talk about the 3 M's: McCarr, McKinnon, Miko. You got to slow those 3 down somehow. If Dallas can do it, kudos to them because it seems like nobody can figure out how to do that. They're going to be chugging along. And then this is a great defensive matchup. We got Quinn Hughes versus Roman Yossi last round. This round we get Kale McCarr and Miro Heiskanen, which I know Nick is just smiling ear to ear about. What are your thoughts on that?
I mean, you want to talk about like if you're a hockey coach, this is porn for you. Like you're gonna have like your whiteboard next to the TV, like point and be like, "Did you see that? Did you see the way he moved his hips right there?" Like, this is
That's a
just
great way to put it.
like it is just porn to watch both of those guys skate, for lack of a better word. So it's gonna be great to see what that matchup is like. Both of those guys are offensive minded too, so they're gonna be looking to set up rushes going the other way. But yeah, I mean, this whole like Nate Dogg, Kale, and Miko thing, I mean, I don't really think you can slow them down. That's the thing. I think you just have to limit it.
Yeah.
It's like, how many goals are we going to give up? Maybe you try and make it 3 in one game instead of 5.
Yeah, and I mean for the Avs, they get probably the Vezina winner in round one, and now they get scorching hot Jake Ottinger, who just had a hell of a round one series.
And caught
With
fire as the series went on, I would say.
Yeah, 1.95 GAA and a 925 save percentage. That'll do. Before we give our picks, one last stat. Remember the Pete DeBoer thing I said earlier about 8-0, 8 straight game sevens? The Avalanche have actually never won a game seven in the McKinnon era. They are 0-4 in game sevens with Nate Dogg in the organization. So, with all of this said, what are we thinking here, fellas? Nick, you're wearing a Dallas Stars jersey, so I'm definitely starting with you.
Not deviating. Stars in 7.
There you go. See, you can't bend. You can't bend.
And that's hard for me because I actually think that the Avs are a better team right now.
Mac, you are grinning ear to ear as well. This is a fun one. This is a giddy one.
Can I go last?
You can go last, yeah. I'm not deviating either. Avs and 7. Little road dog action.
It makes sense. I mean,
Your cup pick versus my cup pick.
there we go. One of us is going down at the end of this round, so stay hot.
The Stars are also my cup pick, which is why it's so hard for me because if I'm going off what I saw in round one, I really feel like it could be like Avs and 6 or something like that.
That's what was tripping me up.
But I'm gonna stick with my pick and I'll go Stars and 7.
Wow.
There you go, boys. We did not bend. We knew it was going to come to something like this.
Hell
It's
yeah.
gonna be tough, but should be a hell of a series. Definitely keep an eye on that. I think most of the start times are 9:30 Eastern, so not perfect, but certainly not our 10:30
Helps us
bullshit.
out.
So
We'll take it.
yeah, we'll definitely take it. Moving
Yeah.
on to
Now we just need to get these two teams eliminated here, and it'll make our lives a lot easier.
Yeah, well, this is definitely where the 10:30 starts come in. We've got the Vancouver Canucks versus the Edmonton Oilers. The Canucks are coming in at plus 205 underdogs, and the Edmonton Oilers are coming in at minus 255 favorites. By far and away the biggest favorites of any of the round two matchups. Worth noting, Vancouver did sweep Edmonton in the season series, but 3 of those 4 wins were in the first 2 weeks of the season when the Oilers sucked and before the coaching change. This is the Battle of Western Canada. This makes the internet a super fun place to be. So, what are your guys' thoughts on this series?
I'm just excited to be a fly on the wall. It's about 3,000 miles away from either of these cities, which I would say is about the edge of like the safe distance. So that's good. Um, this is going to be so much fun to watch. This is going to be, like you said, so much fun to, scroll on Twitter too and just see the moronic commentary going back and forth. I feel like we live for playoff series like this. That being said, those odds for this series,
Crazy.
I get all over Canucks as fast as you can.
Yeah, I mean, that's worth a shot. No, I mean,
Absolutely.
that's so much
Definitely.
juice.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is what I was saving for this segment is just that, my gut reaction and probably a lot of other people's gut reaction is to say it feels like the Oilers might walk all over the Canucks, but we touched on it earlier. Let's remember this is a Rick Tocchet coach team, the Canucks, and the Canucks literally just got badly outplayed in at least 4, probably more like 5 of the 6 games that they played against Nashville. A good team and still managed to win that series in 6 games. And they did so with backup and third string goalies. So that's kind of what has me tripped up here. I also think there's something to be said about like they almost just kind of like accidentally found their way into the second round. And sometimes teams like that all of a sudden just catch fire. Now that they've made it into the second round, it's like, oh, here we are. Well, let's step on the gas. They also they didn't really they didn't have to like work as hard, I feel like, as a lot of other teams to get that. You know what I mean? Like they just kind of ended up here in a lot of ways. So
I think that's a great point because a lot of the times you get teams like that who are like, we're not really doing anything different than what we've been doing all year. Let's stick to what we know, play our game, don't get sucked into what they want us to do. And a lot of teams find success that way. I mean, the Devils won how many Stanley Cups doing that, and then just because they had Marty Brodeur. But um, yeah, I think this is, there's a lot of Oilers hubris, let's put it that way, on Twitter about how quick this series could be over, how many goals McDavid is going to score in the first game. Big time trap series if you're the Oilers. This
yeah,
Canucks team is dangerous. We
Yeah,
talked about them being able to shut down a very pesky and feisty Predators team that plays a little bit of a fuck you style of game. So I don't know. I think they could give the Oilers a lot of problems.
and here's the other thing. All of the pressure is on the Oilers. Like, I think, Canucks fans won't see it this way, but in my opinion, Canucks, they made it the second round this year. I think that's pretty good. Like, I think if they,
They weren't even supposed to be in the playoffs.
no, exactly. I think if they won 2 games in this series, I think you could call that a pretty solid season and go into next season feeling decently good about what happened and, that kind of thing. The Oilers, if you lose this series in any fashion, you're 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 almost in Leaf land.
frauds.
Yeah, you're almost in like Leaf territory where you're like, this is ridiculous. Do we need to like blow something up here? What more can we do with
I
this
agree.
team? Yeah.
I
And
agree.
so
They're
and so and because of that, I think again, you mentioned it before, Vancouver has home ice. I think if Vancouver finds a way to like win both of those first 2 games and go up
Oh
two
man.
nothing, panic mode, full panic mode for the Oilers. So it could get interesting
And
fast.
not like constructive panic mode, like fall apart, rip your hair out, like cry and run around in a circle and fall down,
Like
destructive panic.
Drysaitel in the post game interview, like saying 2 word answers,
Yep.
kind of vibes.
Yeah, big time.
ugh.
All right, Harry,
Listen.
where do we stand on this one?
I love Rick Tocchet. I love what I saw against the Preds. I love Artis Shilovs. I love Casey DeSmith. I love Teddy Bluger. I love the Canucks. They're great. They're like Penguins West. They got Rutherford, the whole gang. They're all over there. I'm for it. And honestly, I love JT Miller. He's one of my favorite players to watch that's not a Penguin. I love the way he plays the game. All that being said, this is a different breed that they're about to take on. And that power play is ruthless. You
Yeah.
take you take 3 penalty, you take more than 3 penalties in a game. I'd argue even over 2.5 penalties in a game, you're fucked. They're gonna score one. It's a gimme. So the Canucks have to stay out of the box. They have to. If they can do that, which I'm not sure they can, they have a chance. I so badly want to say this series will go at least 6 or 7. I really do. I think it can go 6. I don't know if it can go 7, but the Oilers are just there comes a time in a man's career where he just puts his foot down and he's like, fuck it, I'm the best in the world. And I have a really bad feeling that we are entering that territory.
You think that's this year?
I think Connor's gonna have to go against Nate Mack against my picks, and that's when I don't know what happens. But I'm not betting against the Oilers. I mean, I think they do it in 6.
Wow.
Sadly, I want Vancouver, but
I also want Vancouver, but I too am taking the Oilers in 6.
that would be a home ice win for the Oil. Nick Manella, you are nodding your head and smiling
Yeah,
very
guys,
slowly.
that sounds fine and dandy and everything, and that's all great.
Do
Yeah,
it. Do it.
Canucks in 7.
Oh,
Go,
baby.
baby. Let's go.
I love
Hell
it.
yeah. I would
Someone had to
love to
do
see
it.
it. I hope it happens.
She loves me. She loves me not is gonna get hot. He's gonna steal a couple.
Dude, he played so well in round one. Like, that's the
Yeah.
thing. This series is going to be a lot of fun.
That's the thing, man. They're on, I mean,
I
they're
love
they're
Quinn
they're going
Hughes so
up against
much.
like the most feared power play in the world, but like I don't know, you're saying there's a chance.
We need Quinn Hughes conference final. That would be so unprecedented and just hilarious and
Yeah,
awesome.
This is such a good chance for the Canucks core four to really put a fucking stamp on where they rank in terms of like core fours in the league.
for
You got
sure.
Hughes, Besser, Miller, Patterson going against McDavid, Draisaitl, Bouchard, and Hyman or RNH, whoever you want to pick. Like the Canucks have the guys they need to turn into dogs. This
That's a
is the
good point.
series. This is the series where the Canucks become the dogs in a good way,
And they're
and I hope
obviously
they
at
do
like
it.
yeah, they're obviously at like different points in this cycle too. Like the Canucks are a little bit more on the come up, whereas the Oilers have been to a conference final with what, like the majority of this cluster, I would say. What was that? The one where they beat the Flames in the Battle of Alberta matchup, went on to the conference finals. What year was that? 19,
20,
20?
22.
Okay.
And they lost to the Avalanche, I think.
Yeah. So yeah, I think they're at like different areas of that cycle. But I think for them to get out in front of that, like you said, or just solidify themselves in front of any core forward and defense group in the NHL and say, yeah, we're better than you.
I love it. I'm so excited. I would say this is probably the most exciting series. I could see Colorado, Dallas. It's gonna be the most competitive, but I could see that being a slugfest for a couple of games. This one should be fun.
Yeah.
All eyes on Stuart Skinner and Elias Pettersson. Those are the two guys to watch on both teams. They got to show up.
This series in particular, there will not be one game with a bad atmosphere. Both of those
Oh yeah,
buildings are just going to be so
Yeah, that's a great
ungodly
point.
out of control.
great national anthems incoming.
Oh my God.
All right, we're gonna move on to the last series. We actually already gave our picks out last episode for this. All of us chose the Rangers to take down the Hurricanes in this series. We did have a game one already yesterday, Sunday. So just a little recap. I mean, the Rangers end up winning 4-3. Don't think that was too much of a surprise to all three of us, considering we chose them to win the series. You assume they probably will win game one. I can't stop talking about Vinny Trocheck. This dude is such a beast. He's so fucking good. And now he's haunting his former team. And he was the one guy yesterday. I know Mika had 2 goals, but Trocheck's passing, it's like he's thinking about what he's doing ahead of the play. Both the Mika power play goal, he had an unreal feed to him. He looks so good for them.
He's found a home on that team. And I said it at the beginning of the Caps Rangers series. Like, if they let that guy get hot, they're fucked. And that's exactly what happened. And he doesn't look like he's going to slow down, but the hockey IQ on that guy, I think, has to be top 10 in the NHL.
Ridiculous. But Mika with a pair. Panarin also scored. Trocheck scored and got an apple. And Igor Shesterkin, he stopped 22 shots to become the third goalie in franchise history to open a postseason with 5 straight wins. I don't know why that just clicked in my brain, but yeah, the Rangers haven't lost in the playoffs yet. So, Mac, you're awfully quiet.
Yeah, this is a weird one because I did pick the Rangers last episode. I think in my bracket I have the Hurricanes. I think there's a good chance this goes 6 or 7. I do think this is really interesting, especially because both of these teams had one of the easier matchups in round one, and now all of a sudden they both have to face each other, which is way harder. Um, I actually like what I saw from the Hurricanes in game one. I think it's promising that they put 3 past Igor in the first game. That was a big challenge for the Caps. Obviously, Carolina's got better offense than the Caps anyway, but I I don't know. I think they could definitely give the Rangers a little bit of a scare here. I don't know if they can win it, but like I said last episode, the best thing about this series is one of these stupid ass teams is getting eliminated. So
Well said. I think Carolina fans also got their first dose of the downside of having Evgeny Kuznetsov in their lineup when he blatantly cross-checks someone in the face, that it's just a very avoidable penalty, side of the net, post whistle. And I think it was Trocheck who scored on the power play 6.5 seconds later. So
classic.
it's just like stuff like that in a 1 goal game is so avoidable that that's stuff you just have to eliminate if you want to have a chance of beating that Rangers team.
Mac, I will officially give you a chance to change back your podcast pick to your bracket pick if you feel so inclined.
Wow, that's tough.
Redemption.
God, it's so hard because I hate both of them so much, and I'm trying to picture each one of them being sad, and it's easy to do, but oh man,
You know, like the Stephen King thing, the dome. Like, can we just drop a dome over top of
oh
like
yeah,
MSG and just like lock them both in there?
and make them think this is the cup final, and it's
Yeah.
like,
It's like
yay,
you
you
you keep
won.
playing. Yeah.
Okay, go away. Um, no, I think I'm gonna stick with it. I think this Rangers team is better than this Hurricanes team, and I think they'll win in 7 or 6.
Kane's got to stay out of the box. 2 power play goals for the Rags. But we'll have more on that series come next episode. Obviously, only 1 game so far. So yeah, that about wraps up the previews and recaps for the playoffs so far. We're going to do the gambling and trivia here real quick. This gambling segment is brought to you by Prop Tracker. Your reminder that Prop Tracker is your one-stop shop for all outlier bets for the NHL playoffs. You can also bet on you can't bet. You can look at data for NBA and MLB stats as well. Shots on goal, receptions in football, rebounds in basketball, you name it, they track it. Go download Prop Tracker app at www.proptrackerapp.com/emptybetters, or you can use the link in any of our social media bios. That does help support us, so we appreciate it. Real quick, Game 7 unders. Both unders hit. And one bet that I've really come to like, no goal in the first 10 minutes. If you're a baseball fan, you know all about the no run in first inning. I would say this is hockey's version of that. Great adrenaline rush, and they tend to be pretty money in Game 7s or big elimination games. So keep both of those in your back pocket. And
Do you
then
think that's
over
something that like Vegas created lines just because they heard sports dudes saying, well, you just got to survive the first 10 minutes of a road
100,
playoff hockey game like 1,000
100%.
times over? So they're like, oh, these idiots will lose money on this.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
It's a fun bet, I can't lie. It's
Yeah.
thrilling.
Oh, it's great.
Yeah.
It's quick and it's fun because it's quick when like quick and over, and then you're like, you either win and you're happy, or you lose and you're like, all right, I got to live bet something else.
It's a fun, more fun way to plan under and more
Well said.
realistic. And then lastly, overs are pretty much dead, it seems like. I don't know what's going on. Money lines are tricky. So the player props are the move. The 2 teams in round 2 that I think everybody's going to be targeting are Florida and Edmonton. Their big guns all were hitting at a great rate in round 1. I would expect nothing less in round 2. The McKinnons, Rantanens, McCars, Reinhardts, Verhaeghes, Kachucks. Those are going to be your big 6 that you're probably going to be looking at for shots, points, goals, you name it, they got it. Mac, let's get out of here with trivia with who's sponsored by Elwoods.
Yes, indeed. Just a reminder to support your local dive bar and have a beer at Elwood's Liquor and Tap, home of the Pizza Luge. Located in the heart of downtown Milwaukee on Water Street, this 70s inspired bar has got a little something for everybody. From daily happy hour, rotating taps, free birthday perks, and a 4-season patio, a good time is always right around the corner at Elwood's. And with the full NHL package plus TV screens inside and out, hockey fans can watch any game, anytime. We'll see you down at Elwoods.
I found one because the date stuff is kind of wacky this time of year, but I found one on Twitter that you guys will probably get relatively easily once you think about it a little bit. I'm scared if I give a hint, it'll give it away. But who is the only player in NHL history to eliminate the Vegas Golden Knights in the first round multiple times?
Oh shit. So he's somebody on San Jose
Right.
and on Dallas. Pavelski?
Yeah, that was too easy.
It's a
Fuck.
good
Bang.
one.
Nice.
I saw it, I was like, and then I really thought about it, I was like,
I like
oh,
that though. That's a good fun fact.
Yeah.
it is. Yeah. So yeah, that'll do it for this episode. You guys got any final notes, comments, concerns?
I'm good.
So,
Buy our merch.
yeah, do that.
And
Yeah.
if you're currently in our bracket challenge too, there's a lot of people in that, but reminder to check where you're at, because if you end up winning, you can choose some merch and we'll ship it out to you.
By the way, did check. Sparta 84 is my dad.
He's cooking, dude. He's cooking.
Right?
7 of 8 in the first round. I love that. Yeah, definitely. If you're in that bracket challenge, a lot of the names of the brackets, we have no fucking clue who it is. So please monitor that so we can DM you and give you the merch. Because if you don't,
Or more like, so when you win and we have no idea who you are, you can DM us and be
Right.
like, hey, look, this is my bracket.
You're like, why don't I have my shit yet? It's like, well,
Yeah.
we don't know who you are.
We also need to know what you want from the store. So you're
Correct.
going to have to DM us anyway.
There's a lot
And
of
why don't
questions.
you go online on the store, pick what you want, and then when you fail miserably and don't win the bracket challenge, just buy it anyway.
I love that.
Max over here giving some like solid investment advice, just saying.
It really is. All right, everybody. Well, we appreciate the love and support as always. Enjoy the round 2 game 1s that will occur before next episode, and we'll be back with you later this week. Without further ado,
Class dismissed.